And the way that the proxies are made, which I will show you now, Matt had us set up the proxy generator to use H.264 instead of ProRes. You can use whatever workflow fits you best just to save space, because we knew that we were going to have plenty of shoot days and plenty of terabytes to chew through. H.264 was the best option. You can do 1080s, which are totally fine. You can also do half-res 1080. Whatever you want to do to save space on your drive, Resolve can handle it. We had 6 cameras plus a line cut going in a multicam in Resolve, doing all H.264s. As long as your computer was built in the last like 3 or 4 years, you're going to be totally fine doing big multicams like that with H.264s.
When you're creating proxies through the generator, do you have to set all your like sort of specifications in Resolve first, or you can do it all in the generator?
Yeah, the proxy generator just has those different flavors. It's kind of meant for, speed, because it can kind of run in the background and doesn't tie up your Resolve. If you do have like a really specific flavor, you want to do DNX as your proxy, then you would run those proxies through Resolve itself. If you had multiple computers and they were all looking at the same network attached storage, you could set up the Blackmagic proxy generator on all those computers and pointing to the same watch folder, and they basically auto-negotiate. So it's kind of like a render farm, ad hoc render farm.
Once you drop all of your raw media in and you create the proxies, it'll create a proxy folder right where the raw media lives. This is the best workflow to ensure that the cloud store has a direct line of sight to the proxy media. You are able to move the proxy media when you initially tell it to create to wherever you would like. However, the workflow is best if you keep it exactly where the camera raws are. You see this pink purple icon, it says PXY. That means that you're editing with proxies. If you want to work with just the camera originals, you blow up a shot, you want to see if there's going to be any degradation to the shot, you go up to the playback option, Proxy Handling, prefer camera originals, and it'll change the icon to HQ. It means you're using camera originals or whatever the original media was before you made the proxies. And that is the link that we have between the camera raws that are in here and the proxies. It knows exactly where the two of them live. The great thing about Resolve, though, is that if you are linked to high-res media, when you go to export something, it will use the camera originals as long as you don't tell it to export using the proxies. So if I go in here and I say use proxy media, I can use the proxy media to export. But if I have the camera originals, I want to show the client the highest quality possible. That's a great thing with Blackmagic. You also have that option in other NLEs, but it makes it so simple in Resolve. You can just hit the one button and it toggles back and forth.
If this whole team's got the cloud stores and everyone's editing off proxies, that's fine. But let's just say Giacomo's going to do some color on it and needs the raw. Like, let's just say it's a show with, 6 days of shooting and he just wants to color like one of the days of shooting. It's like too much media for his 8 terabyte, right? Can you control the amount of proxies so he's not trying to download too much, like the whole show?
Oh, like all the originals, yeah. So once you get to that point, you can media manage a timeline or a project and sync that separately. So you can take something that's 80 terabytes down to something much smaller. So if I go to File, Media Management, I can go to Timelines, and then I can select whatever the hero timeline is. And then under this option here, I can basically copy all the used media, or I can copy all the used media but trim it, and keeping just a certain frame of handles. And this will actually trim, whether it's a RED, a BRAW file, in a lossless manner, and put that into a separate directory, which you define right up here. So that's a really good way to set up a data set for a colorist to work on that's smaller than the full thing, or even for archive purposes. You can make a smaller archival version of this entire project that you can restore later on without having to restore all the original camera files.
It's nice because like on most of the shows we have these 8 terabyte, right? So you got 8 terabytes to work with wherever you are. But there's other. What's the next size? Is 8? Then it's 20.
20, yeah.
20 and then 80 and then like 320.
That's right.
So
That's right.
You could live. A colorist could live off of an 8 terabyte if they needed to. If they're working remotely, they don't need to have a big 80 sitting on their desk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yeah, and I don't know any other NLE that allows you to truncate like a raw camera file either. I think Resolve might be the only one that does that. Usually when you want to take a whole piece of camera original and truncate it down to like a certain section that's used in a timeline, I think that every NLE has you transcoded to some other medium, whether it's ProRes or DNX. I don't think there was any other NLE that has this option where you can truncate an actual raw file and then use that raw file as a media managed project.
From what you've learned in this short amount of time, what do you feel like the biggest hurdles are for you? It's like funny, on Hulu we had avid editors that just were hardcore avid. They loved avid. They loved their hardware, and so it was like that mindset of trying something new. What do you see that you like, and what do you see that what are the hurdles for you that you need to get over?
I mean, I think the hurdles for me have always been, it's not even the software, because I think editing software, once you know one, you can figure another one out in no time. I don't think that's, at least for me, an issue, but I feel like it's always been, sync. And so when you're watching something remotely, sometimes that's an issue. I don't know if Justin, you could speak to that at all in terms of like playback. Like, I don't know if it's sticky at all, because I know I've run into that. I've edited in the cloud for the past 3 years, and that was always something that came up. Producers watching with you, you're screen sharing, and I feel like that's something that just isn't quite solved yet.
Sure. As far as from my experience, we didn't really have too much of an issue with it. So once we figured out how the cloud store integrates and works with everybody's computer, make sure that the handshake that it has with the OS is solid, then it was very fluid. Like I said, we were using H.264s in a multicam timeline, doing 6 cameras plus a line cut that was also in a highly compressed format. They were all playing back completely fine. It really just depends on making sure that connection between the cloud store, because the cloud store is a solid state drive. It produces a lot of heat. I'm touching it right now. It produces some heat. It's working very hard, but it's a solid state drive. So it's going to be able to read and write the media very quickly. You can access multiple streams of video at the same time in a multicam.
Amy, I've seen, I was on a couple shows before Resolve had a lot of these collaboration features and the media syncing and stuff like that. And I saw a lot of the lagging because we were doing like jump remote desktop to jump into another computer, or like Lucid Link is a solution that some people have tried, and there's some lag there because the file's not necessarily downloaded, so it's trying to stream online. So I think this is kind of a different approach entirely, where the media is local to you, so you do get kind of guaranteed playback. So that's kind of I think a fundamental difference of this kind of remote collaboration versus some of the other options.
Got it. Thanks.